31 of the premature children that were in a Shifa medical complex have now reached the Emirati hospital in Rafah. The total number of these premature children was originally 39, but 8 of them did not make it after the Israeli forces taking over a Shifa medical complex had destroyed the oxygen station, and because of the lack of fuel and the destroying of all generators and solar panels in a Shifa medical complex, there was no electricity for the incubators of these premature babies. The doctors tell us that 4 of them are in severe condition. And as you can see with us, at least every incubator has from 3 to 4 premature children because of the lack of incubators in this hospital.
The majority of the children present were clearly exposed during the last 8 days when they were transferred from incubators to other departments that were not prepared to receive them, to services below the standard required for them, and it's clear that they lost weight and that there's a clear drop in temperatures. Yesterday, 2 of them died. It is clear that some of them suffered from vomiting, diarrhea, and blood poisoning.
The medical staff here are pushing to their limits to try to save these premature children. But with the lack of resources and capabilities, the struggle is great.
Do you consider that what Israel is doing is war crimes?
Well, I am not a lawyer, but there is an international criminal court who's going to investigate. Several countries have asked the International Criminal Court to open a case, but what's happening in Gaza has to be studied, and the International Criminal Court will have to take evidence in order to make a judgment. I am not a lawyer, but the number of casualties among children in particular, is too high to believe that everything is being done in order to protect the civilian as the international law requires.
Is the European Union's position regarding what Hamas has done on the 7th of October as war crimes?
Yes. We consider that a war crime because it is clear killing civilians in an evident way without any other reason than just killing them because they were there.
But Mr. Borrell, you just said about Israel, you said you're not a lawyer. Now you're passing legal judgments. How are you so clear about Hamas, yet you're not so sure about Israel? For Hamas, you say these are war crimes. For Israel, you say you're not a lawyer. That's why people in the world are accusing you of double standards.
No, we don't have.
Well, let's now find out how things are right now on the ground in Gaza and speak to our correspondent, Tarek Abu-Azoum. He's in Khan Yunis. Tarek, we were saying earlier, this is the first night in, 49 days without any bombs falling from the sky. Talk us through how people have woken up there this morning, what they're doing with this time.
Yes, earlier today morning, as I was heading to work, I just saw a long line of people who were stationed and even waiting in a long line for outside of a filling station in order to had an access to the newly delivered fuel that had entered the Gaza Strip throughout Rafah crossing border. Now, the majority of people inside the Gaza Strip had a sense of tranquility as there is no any airstrikes took place till this very moment now. It's important also to say that the north of the Gaza Strip had even received the first UN convoy of a humanitarian aid that had been directed for two United Nations shelters in the north of the territory, filled with flow and humanitarian aid. Now, it's also worth mentioning to say that the relief that had been brought by the ceasefire has been tempered, as the ceasefire might really leave Gaza Strip throughout this ongoing humanitarian crisis with the limited number of the humanitarian aid that is expected also to get into the territory. Now, also, this ceasefire might really end soon, as also the fight imposes a significant threat over the Gaza Strip, as fight will continue after the end of this truce for Gazans.
There are no guarantees that Israel's not going to continue to bomb, even during this pause, even during the ceasefire. And more frighteningly is that I'm afraid that they're going to continue even afterwards, that it's going to be even more vicious. It's time now for us to step back and not simply look at these pauses as being just that, a pause, but instead to try to address the root cause of this. And unfortunately, what we've seen is that over time is that the only way that Palestinians can end up being released, Palestinian political prisoners end up being released, is when there is some measure of violence. And that's because the world community has entirely abandoned Palestinians. So rather than the world pushing Israel to do what it's supposed to be doing, which is abiding by legal norms, they instead have given Israel carte blanche to do whatever they want to do. And hence we end up seeing this situation in which Palestinians pay the ultimate price. And we end up seeing things like pauses, but we don't ever see a complete end, a complete cessation.